Are they coming after our old cars and trucks? There's been a ton, and I mean a ton of press about how they're coming after our vintage, classic, old cars and trucks. It's scaring the bejeepers out of all of us, okay? So, last couple of weeks, I went down the rabbit hole. I did a whole bunch of reading. I did a whole bunch of researching, and this is what I found. The answer to your question is yes and no. I hate to say it that way, but it is yes or no. They're trying to force us to do things, but they're actually not trying to take them off the road. They're trying to limit the amount of time they spend on the road. That's what the rub is, okay? So what this all started with, and what really started it, was Minnesota, okay? The state of Minnesota tried to pass a state law saying that if your car was past a certain age, and I think it was like 25 years or older than 25 years old, that you could only drive it on the weekends or special occasions. All right, and that was Prop 3865, something like that, out of Minnesota. Okay, that was several months ago. Okay, now they voted on it, but it didn't pass. Thank the Lord. Okay, thank the Lord that didn't pass. Okay, because any government entity, when it comes to vehicles, and where this all comes from, is basically the EPA. The Environmental Protection Agency. They're the ones that mandate how much you can do pollution, and groundwater and all that stuff. But during the previous administration, they went hot and heavy after emissions on cars. They had mandates about electric vehicles. They had, we're going to phase out fossil fuels. I mean, they went 100 miles per hour as fast as they could, trying to get things passed and trying to get things done to that basically everything that we love to do was going to be affected, okay? Then the election happened, and things are starting to retract, We got a year and a half in, and things are starting to retract. I got another video out there that he signed it, and that signing was about the EPA and about the overstep of the EPA, okay? That's where all this is coming from. But if Minnesota had passed that law, that was their foot in the door to go even more and above and really start wrenching down and twisting the thumb screws on all of us out there. And once one does it, other states would follow. And I'm talking, East Coast, West Coast, everything in the middle, leave us alone, don't tread on us. But that's the way it is, okay? So that's what this all started. And thank the Lord, it didn't pass, okay? So the other thing I found out is that there's a lot of states out there that have antique or vintage or classic tags, okay? They're cheaper than other states, regular tags. They make it where you don't have to go get emissions tests. They sell you a bill of goods saying, okay, you just got to pay one time. There's some states it's just one time. You buy the tag for this car, and you don't have to go get emissions checks. And have a nice day. Here's your new antique tag. What they don't tell you is that by doing that, you are agreeing in the fine print. You are agreeing that you will only drive that car on the weekends. It's not allowed for day to day. It's not allowed for going to school. It's not allowed for going to work. You can't go to the pharmacy with it. Not a grocery store. You can't tool around town. Special occasions, which means parades, which are normally on the weekends, and Saturday and Sunday driving. Okay? That's what you're signing up for whenever you get a antique tag. And I did the research. Where I live in Oklahoma, there is no antique tags, okay? Arkansas, you go right across the border in Arkansas, they have antique tags. And they have the fine print in their bylaws that you are not supposed to use that vehicle besides on the weekends or special occasions. The one that blew my mind was Tennessee. Tennessee, they actually have you sign an affidavit separate to be able to do that tag. And you're signing an affidavit saying that you will not drive this vehicle any other time besides the weekends. Okay, I don't like it. I don't like that idea at all. Okay, California. Okay, there's no exemption from the smog laws in California, no matter how old your car is. The way I understand it, okay, this is the way I'm reading online, okay, and that's why I came across it's the Leno law. Jay Leno, he's the ultimate car guy, and he has stuff from the 1910s all the way to new stuff, and he's been trying for years to get the Jay Leno law passed through California legislation to make it where if your car is past, say, about 35 years old, that it isn't necessary for it to be smog tested anymore. I mean, you think about it. 73 or 74 was the first year for catalytic converters, okay? So if you're in California and you have a 72 Chevelle, you're actually not supposed to drive that car. They could get you for EPA stuff for driving your car that originally never even came out with it. If I understand the way I read it, okay? I may be wrong, but that's the way it read to me, okay? So, the other thing that I found out is that, there's a lot of companies out there, Haggerty, there's a bunch of them that will insure old vintage classic cars, right? They sign up thousands and thousands of guys a year. But in that insurance clause, again, you're running weekends only to have coverage for your classic through like Haggerty and other companies. You're only allowed to weekends and special occasions. And if you get caught, if you have a fender bender on Wednesday going and getting groceries at the grocery store, you might not have coverage for that accident because of the provisions in your insurance setup. That one is just supposed to be. Oh, another thing, Haggerty. I know Haggerty does. I didn't check the other ones, but Haggerty has a mileage limit per year. 2,500 miles per year is all you're allowed to drive your vintage classic that you've owned since you were a teenager. Okay, anything more than that, coverage stops. Okay, they aren't specifically coming after classic and vintage cars to remove them. They are trying to restrict when they can be used. That is what the rub is, and that's the EPA, and that is the book from them. If we can't get them, if we can't force them to scrap them. Oh, let's go back. The cash for cars, the cash for clunkers thing. Okay, everybody brings that up. Okay, but that happened in 2009. It happened for 2 months in California at dealerships where they destroyed engines and scrapped over 600,000, close to 700,000 cars in 2 months. That they pulled them off and they made them pour this this chemical that hardens like cement in the engines and ruins the engines, gets into everything, and just makes it where you can't rebuild them. You couldn't use the jackhammer to get the stuff out of the cylinders. Okay, so, but that only happened in 2009, which is now 17 years ago, and it only happened for 2 months, and then they quit because they ran out of budget. Apparently, that's what I read. It may not be right, but that's what I read, was that they took so many off the road and paid so much money out that they kind of blew their budget on the deal. That's why that stopped. So there hasn't been a cash for clunkers in 17 years. Okay, so you ain't got to worry about that. But that one always comes up too. That was California starting to do stuff, Okay, so what is the fix? The fix is you don't sign up for those antique or classic tags. Okay, you don't get special insurance. Okay, my 80 Silverado is regularly tagged and insured with liability insurance, regular. So I can drive it whenever I want, however I want. The Mustang, I don't have insurance on it yet because I'm still building it, but it is regularly tagged. Would you like to be part of something special? Uncle Wes Garage now has memberships, and that's a open opportunity to be behind the scenes, to get information nobody else gets to see, to see things, possibly get to see things before anybody else sees them, things like that. If you would like that opportunity, there's a link down below for the memberships for Uncle Buck's Garage. Please sign up. Liability insurance when it gets out, you know, and because I have a really good agent. I went to high school with him. You know, he's my buddy. Shout out to Shannon. And so that is the fix. They won't tell you at the tag office that you are signing up for restricting when you can drive your own car. They are just dangling that carrot in front of you. Hey, you can get this tag for 10 cents on the dollar. You ain't got to come back. You ain't got to mess with it. But we're not going to tell you the back end of that. We're not going to tell you exactly what that's going to do to you. You know, and it's sad, you know, that I've had lots of friends that put a lot of antique tags on stuff, especially in Arkansas. They didn't know what they were signing up for. It wasn't spoken of. They weren't given that information, you know, but they absolutely signed up for it. But that's the only way I know to do it. Is that you just tag it and insure it regular. That way they have no. But the thing is that they'll try again. You know, the EPA is not dead. It's got a new person leading it, and things are starting to loosen up. You know, but you got to stay everly vigilant. And I'm going to do my best to inform you as best I can of what I find out if you guys have questions about stuff, because all this started by him signing a piece of paper, an executive order, the right to fix. And that got me thinking and got me reading and got me, you know, diving in the pool. And you guys can look all this stuff up for yourself. You just do a simple Google search. But I use 3 different AIs to do the searches, like Google and Claude and Elon's from X. You know, it's the information is out there, but there are definitely entities out there that see big money down the road by some things not being on the road so much. Hope that makes sense. Anyways, I appreciate all you guys watching. You guys have a great day, because a great day today can be driving your hot rod anytime you want tomorrow, or tomorrow night, or tomorrow morning. Doesn't matter what day it is, you get to drive it. So if you want to see my best little video ever made, right here. If you want to see the one that they say is best for you, is right there. Y'all be good.